Today, we're talking about the brand new Leigh Paddletek release, the ALW-C 12.7 and 14.3 millimeter versions. Crazy pop, solid spin, and really just a beast on the court. I can see why Leigh is using this paddle and doing so well with it. In this video, we will dive into accurate spin numbers, power ranking, sweet spot rankings, and control rankings. So without further ado, let's dig straight into it. Paddletek doesn't utilize any sort of discount codes, but if you enjoy my content and want to support my channel, you can use the link in the description down below. And to those of you who do so, my deepest gratitude and thanks. The new Leigh paddle, the ALW-C, is utilizing PT 700 unidirectional carbon fiber on top of Paddletek's advanced high-grade polymer composite Bantam SRT core. This is by far the best feeling and best performing Paddletek paddle I've ever used. There are two different models of this paddle. The 12.7 millimeter model, which is Anna's preferred thickness as it's extremely poppy and powerful, and the 14.3 millimeter model, which is going to have a bit more control, but less pop and power. One thing I really love about Paddletek is that you can customize the grip circumference and the weight of your paddle. So if you like a lighter paddle, so you can add more lead tape, or if you want faster hands, or a stock paddle that is heavier so you don't have to mess around with lead tape, they have tons of weight options. The grip I went with is the standard grip on both paddles, which is a 4.25 inch circumference on the 12.7 millimeter paddle and a 4 3/8 inch circumference on the 14.3 inch paddle. The standard grip gets a bit more cushion added to dampen vibration, but if you have small hands and prefer a smaller grip, you can choose the thinner grip option when customizing your paddle on their website. The thin grip circumference for the 12.7 millimeter paddle is 4 inches, and the thin grip option on the 14.3 millimeter paddle is 4 1/8 inch. The grip length for both paddles is 5 inches, which is pretty short. I find I like this when I'm at the kitchen a lot. With the paddle face closer to my hand, I can gauge my defense and speed ups much quicker, and with the intense pop on this paddle, I can win hand battles really easily. But with my larger hands, I can't really do a two-handed backhand very comfortably. It's doable, but I have to ride my fingers up the back of the paddle face a little bit. The swing weight of the 12.7 millimeter model is 108, and the twist weight is 7.1, which is already a really solid twist weight number. And the swing weight of the 14.3 millimeter model is 105, and the twist weight is 6.08. I find this very interesting that the twist weight of the 12.7 millimeter model is better and more stable than the 14.3 millimeter model. After adding my usual 5-inch strip of lead tape starting 1 inch from the grip going up the throat and up the sides of the paddle, the 12.7 millimeter paddle went from 108 to 112 for swing weight and 7.1 to a whopping 7.57 for twist weight, making the paddle's sweet spot larger, the power more intense, and making it much more stable for resets and defensive shots. As far as cons go for the Paddletek, I will say it does annoy me that there's exposed polymer on the sides of the grip, so you can feel the grip isn't solid all the way around. The sides have that kind of squishy feeling to them. With the 12.7 millimeter version with an overgrip, you don't really feel it too much, but with the 14.3 millimeter version, you do feel it, and it feels cheap and off-putting in my opinion. Spin-wise, this is the highest spinning Paddletek paddle at 2,088 RPM for the 12.7 millimeter version and 2,024 RPM for the 14.3 millimeter version. This much spin coupled with the intense pop and power of the 12.7 millimeter version makes for a deadly weapon on the court. I aced serves and had a lot of very aggressive drives that dipped so hard over the net, making my opponents pop up the ball very often. Spinning dinks were super easy because of the large face and great pop and spin as well. To compare this to a few paddles that this is directly competing with size, shape, and thickness wise, we have the Groove and Move in 13S at 2,008 RPM, the Carbon 2X 14mm at 1901 RPM, and the Vatic Prism Flash 14mm at 1900 RPM. The new carbon fiber textured surface outperforms Paddletek's previous iced carbon fiber textured surface by a large margin and shows they are continually innovating in the space and doing a solid job of it. So power-wise, this paddle is actually pretty crazy. I added my usual 5-inch strip of 1 gram per inch lead tape from the throat up the sides of the paddle, and in some cases, the power and pop almost feels uncontrollable, and I have to tone down my shots a lot, reminding me of how I felt when I was using a fully broken in Gearbox Pro Series paddle. Not quite to that degree, but it does remind me of that intensity for sure. When someone returns short, I can run through the ball and do a quick flick drive that is going so fast towards them, they usually either pop it up or just totally miss the ball entirely. I have had multiple people comment saying, well, that came at me extremely fast. And it has enough spin that even if they move out of the way, it would dip back into the court behind them, which is nice. I am speaking mostly about the 12.7mm version of this paddle, as that's my preferred version of these two. The 14.3mm paddle feels more well-rounded, but doesn't stand out to me in any particular way, just a solid paddle. So for rankings, the 12.7mm ALW-C gets a 9.2 for power and a 9 for pop, and the 14.3mm version gets an 8.4 for power and an 8.3 for pop. Let's compare these ratings to the Groovin' Movin' 13S at 8.5 for power and 8 for pop, the Carbon 2X 14mm at 8.6 for power and 8.3 for pop, and the Vatic Prism Flash 14mm at 8.4 for power and 8.1 for pop. You can see for this shape and thickness, the ALW-C 12.7mm takes the cake. If you're looking for a small-handled, sort of enlarged ping pong style paddle and want the paddle face to be a bit larger and close to your hand, but still want to maintain some insane power, spin, and pop, this could be a great option for you. Extremely impressed, the sweet spot still feels incredible, just like the Wave Pro felt. Kind of crazy how solid the sweet spot is given how thin these paddles are. The 12.7mm version I gave a rating of 9.3 out of 10, and the 14.3mm ALW-C I gave a 9.1 out of 10, which is in line with their twist weight numbers, above and even better with lead tape added. Just really wonderful overall. To compare this to its direct competition by design, we have the Groovin' Movin' 13S at 9.3, the Carbon 2X 14mm at 8.7, and the Vatic Prism Flash 14mm at 8.6 for sweet spot rankings. The shape of this paddle, along with their Bantam core technology, yields a very great sweet spot, which Paddletek does a great job of for sure. Control-wise, this paddle with its intense power and pop does lack some control. If you get used to it, the pop is helpful with dinks and with placing your shots, and the grippy face texture helps a lot with creating spin, which buffers the control rating of these paddles just a bit. But ultimately, the 12.7mm ALW-C gets an 8.4, and the 14.3mm version gets an 8.9 out of 10 for control. I did notice the more I used the paddle, the more I did really like the pop it provides for dinking, and especially for winning hand battles or creating speed ups at the net. I can really slow my dinking down and conceal my shot choice very well with the 12.7mm paddle. Then when I decide to speed up the ball, all it takes is the same motion into a quick whip at the ball, and my opponents are so caught off guard that I win the point quite often utilizing this technique with this paddle specifically. So I would definitely look into grabbing one of these if you're the type of player who likes a smaller grip length and more of a standard shaped paddle with a ton of pop and power behind it. Smash that like button, subscribe to support the channel and to see all of my up-to-date paddle reviews, and have a freaking wonderful day.